It's 1995. You're sitting at the lunch table in school. You open your lunchbox, and right there, tucked between your sandwich and your juice box, is a little yellow packet. Your friends see it. Their eyes go wide. You've got Gushers. Suddenly, you're the most popular kid at the table. If you grew up in the United States in the 90s, UK NOW exactly what I'm talking about. Because Gushers weren't just a snack, they were a status symbol. They were a moment. They were basically childhood in a packet. And today, we're diving deep into the story of the snack that had every American kid absolutely obsessed. Stay with me, because some of these facts are going to blow your mind. So let's start at the very beginning. Gushers, officially called Betty Crocker Fruit Gushers, were first introduced to the world in 1991 by General Mills. Now think about that timing. The early 90s, kids across America were watching Nickelodeon, collecting Pogs, wearing neon windbreakers, and General Mills looked at all of that beautiful chaos and said, "You know what these kids need? A snack that explodes in their mouth." And honestly, they were absolutely right. The concept was genius in its simplicity. A soft, chewy outer shell made from fruit, puree, and inside. A burst of sweet liquid gel that hit your tongue the moment you bit down. That explosion, that gush, that's where the name came from. And here's something most people don't know. Gushers were actually inspired by the idea of making fruit snacks more dramatic and exciting for kids. General Mills spent years in research and development perfecting that liquid center so it would burst at exactly the right moment. They didn't just make a snack. They engineered an experience. But here's the thing. The snack alone wasn't what made Gushers legendary. It was the marketing. The marketing was something else entirely. Do you remember those commercials? A kid eats a Gusher and suddenly their head explodes into a giant fruit. A watermelon head, a strawberry head. The other kids freak out. Everyone's laughing. It was weird. It was wild. It was absolutely unforgettable. And that was 100% intentional. General Mills understood something really powerful about 90s kids. We didn't want boring. We wanted bizarre. We wanted over the top. We wanted something to talk about on the playground the next day. Those commercials aired constantly on Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, and during Saturday morning cartoons, which, by the way, was the most sacred advertising real estate in all of American television in the 90s. If your product was on Saturday morning cartoons, you had officially made it. And Gushers, they owned that space. By the mid-90s, every kid in America wasn't just eating Gushers. They were performing Gushers, biting them dramatically, pretending their heads were turning into fruit. The snack had become a cultural act. That's not just good food. That's genius branding. Now, let's talk about something every single 90s American kid will remember. The lunchroom trading economy. See, back in the 90s, your lunchbox was basically your stock portfolio. And Gushers, they were the blue chip stock that everyone wanted. Here's how it worked. If you had Gushers in your lunchbox, you had power. You could trade a packet of Gushers for someone's fruit roll-up and their Capri Sun. That was just the going rate, non-negotiable. Studies and surveys from the 90s consistently showed Gushers ranking among the top requested snacks by American school children. Parents across the U.S. reported that their kids would specifically, sometimes desperately ask for Gushers to be packed in their lunch. Not because they were hungry, because they wanted clout. And if your mom packed you plain crackers while your friend had Gushers sitting right across the table, you felt that. You felt that deep in your soul. Gushers created a social currency in American elementary schools that nobody planned for, but everybody experienced. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because I want to talk about the science of why Gushers felt so incredibly satisfying that liquid burst. It wasn't an accident. It was food engineering at its finest. The outer shell of a Gusher is made from a carefully balanced mixture of sugars, fruit puree, and modified food starch. It's firm enough to hold its shape, but thin enough to break instantly under pressure. Inside is a concentrated gel, a mixture of corn syrup, fruit juice, and thickeners that stays liquid under the shell. Now I want to get into something a little deeper, because I think there's a reason Gushers became such a specifically American obsession. The 90s in the United States were a very particular kind of magic. The economy was booming. Pop culture was exploding. Nickelodeon was at its absolute peak. Kids had more purchasing influence on family decisions than any generation before them. And American food brands noticed. General Mills understood that 90s American kids didn't just want to eat. They wanted to be entertained. They wanted snacks that matched the energy of the decade. Big, bold, colorful, surprising, and slightly ridiculous. Gushers delivered all of that in a 1-ounce packet. There's also the school lunch culture that's deeply unique to the United States. The communal lunchroom, the trading, the show and tell of what's in your bag. That culture turned Gushers from a snack into a social experience, one that bonded entire generations of American kids together. Ask any American millennial today about Gushers and watch their face completely transform. Their eyes light up, they smile. Within just a few years of launching, Gushers became one of the best-selling fruit snacks in the United States, a market worth hundreds of millions of dollars. So what happened to Gushers after the 90s ended? Here's the beautiful thing. They never actually left. While many 90s snacks faded into obscurity, Gushers kept going. They evolved, they adapted. In the early 2020s, Gushers became a viral sensation all over again, not because of any big marketing campaign, but because millennials started sharing their childhood memories online. A whole new generation of Gen Z kids discovered Gushers and fell in love with them just like their parents did, and General Mills. They leaned all the way in. New collaborations, new limited edition flavors. Even a Gushers x Starbursts mashup that broke the internet for a day. Gushers weren't just a snack. They were a phenomenon. A perfectly engineered, brilliantly marketed, culturally loaded little packet of joy that captured the hearts and lunchboxes of an entire generation of American kids. From the food science behind that iconic burst, to the lunchroom trading culture, to the Saturday morning commercials that are burned into our brains forever. Gushers earned every single bit of that obsession, and honestly, they still deserve it today. So I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. What's your number one Gushers memory? Were you a trader? A hoarder? Did your mom actually pack them? Or did you have to beg?